Hola, ¿qué tal? Welcome to your first video lesson on greetings and common questions. Basically, in this video, you will copy down some phrases and some vocabulary to help you start a conversation and ask some questions to get to know somebody. For each slide, your first step is to pause the video. While it's paused, you can copy down the Spanish and the English vocabulary into your notebook. Once you're finished copying the words, then you can press play. I'll pronounce the words, and you can repeat after me. And I will also mention some reminders or some short notes that you need to add into your notebook to help you understand the way that some of the phrases work. And lastly, you can use this video as a study tool. So let's get started. Los saludos, greetings. Pause the video, copy down the Spanish and the English. When you're ready, press play so we can pronounce the words. All right. Buenos días. Repeat after me. Buenas tardes. Buenas noches. ¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo estás? Bien, gracias. Estoy muy bien. ¿Y tú? On to the next slide, las despedidas, goodbyes. Again, reminder, pause the video, copy the words, press play when you're ready to pronounce with me. Adiós. Chao. Hasta luego. Hasta mañana. Hasta pronto. Que te vaya bien. Now, time for some short reminders. You can make a star in your notebook to paraphrase or kind of summarize what I'm reminding you of. Remember here, the H in Spanish is silent. So when we pronounce these three phrases, we're just going to say hasta without the H sound. Second reminder, or a second side note, is the word hasta, it actually means until. So in these three phrases, you're really saying until later, until tomorrow, or until soon. But to translate it into English and make it sound more natural, I've written over here, see you later. Even though it doesn't actually mean see you, it would sound strange in English to say bye until later. So that's why I've translated it this way. Now we can move on to la cortesía, ways of showing courtesy. Pause the video, copy the words, and press play when you're ready to pronounce. Por favor, please. You can always remember this word, because it's like you're asking someone to do a favor for you, so you would say please. Gracias. De nada. No hay de qué. Mucho gusto. Encantado. Encantada. Now for some short side notes. De nada actually means of nothing. So you're pretty much saying, oh, it's nothing, it's no problem, no big deal, in a way. You're welcome. Same for no hay de qué. This is just another way of saying you're welcome. For these two phrases, if someone just introduced themselves to you, you would say mucho gusto, like pleasure to meet you. It literally means much pleasure. For the second one here, encantado or encantada, If you're a male, you would use the O on the end. If you're a female, you would use the A on the end. This means literally that you're enchanted to meet someone. But to translate it into normal sounding English, I would say pleased to meet you. Now we get into the questions, preguntas. Pause the video, and when you're ready, click play to pronounce them with me. ¿Quién? ¿Qué? ¿Cuándo? ¿Dónde? ¿Por qué? ¿Cómo? ¿Cuánto? ¿Cuántos? Time for a side note here. Notice how every question has an accent mark. Don't forget that accent mark. Every time that you write one of these question words, you know there's going to be an accent mark in it somewhere. The second side note I'll mention is down here at the bottom. Notice how how much or how many can be singular or plural. So you can, if you are asking how much does it cost, you would use cuánto cuesta. If you're asking how many students are in the class, you would say cuántos alumnos hay en la clase. We'll see more examples later. But for now, let's look at one question at a time and see some examples. We'll start with quién, who. Pause the video to copy these questions and then pronounce. ¿Quién eres? ¿Quién es tu amigo? ¿Quiénes son tus padres? ¿Quién es el profesor? ¿Quién tiene la tarea? Side note, ¿quiénes in this example here is plural because padres is plural. If you know that the answer to your question is something that's more than one, like your parents, you make just quién becomes quiénes. This will not happen for the other questions except for cuánto. Write down these phrases and click play when you're ready to pronounce. ¿Qué día es hoy? ¿Qué hora es? ¿Qué tiempo hace? Side note, Q and U next to each other will not be pronounced like a qu or a que. The U is almost silent and you pronounce it as if it's a K. So it's just que and not que. You don't want to sound silly. ¿Cuándo? ¿Cuándo es tu cumpleaños? ¿Cuándo termina la clase? ¿Cuándo es el otoño? ¿Dónde? Again, I'll pause to copy the questions and then press play to pronounce. ¿Dónde está el baño? ¿De dónde eres? ¿A dónde vas? Side note, ¿dónde by itself it means where. When you add de in front of it, de donde, now you're asking from where are you. De can mean of or from. So when you put these two words together, that's when you're asking, from where are you? The third sentence, a donde vas, a means to. So now you're asking, to where are you going? ¿Cómo? ¿Cómo estás? ¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo es la profesora? Time for some side notes. The reason that estás is highlighted red is to show the difference between ¿cómo estás and ¿cómo es? ¿Cómo estás? That question is asking how are you, but you're wanting to know how the person is doing or how they're feeling. When you ask ¿cómo es or ¿cómo eres?, you're asking how someone is, but you're asking for a description of them. So in the first question, I'm asking, how are you feeling today? In the third example, I'm asking, can you tell me what the professor is like or how they look? How is the professor? Another side note is ¿cómo te llamas? You can see in the parentheses, it literally means, how do you call yourself? That's a strange way to us for asking someone's name, but in Spanish, it makes sense. What do you call yourself? ¿Cuánto? ¿Cuántos años tienes? ¿Cuánto cuesta? ¿Cuántas chicas hay en la clase? ¿Cuántos chicos hay en la clase? Time for some side notes here. Remember, when we saw the very beginning of all the questions, I mentioned how cuánto can be cuánto or cuántos. You can see in these examples, because I have años, plural, I'm asking how many years, cuánto becomes cuántos. It has to be plural also so that it matches años. Here, cuánto cuesta. Third example, cuántas chicas, how many girls, and cuántos chicos, how many boys. They match. The other side note is to have you notice that when you ask someone's age in Spanish, you're actually saying how many years do you have instead of how old are you. But again, to make it more natural in the translation, we put how old are you. And that concludes this video lesson. Feel free to replay it, rewatch it to pronounce the words over again, or use it as a study tool.